Okay, I'll give a quick countdown and then intro, and then we'll just go from there. Okay, so three, two, one. What's good? We are here. This is the Agent Talk podcast. We are back on interview week. I'm here with a good friend of mine, someone we actually recorded an episode. Was that last week, maybe? And I dropped the ball. I think something happened with audio, but it's all good. We are here with my guy, Denny Locasio, aka Sir. Denny, how are we doing today?
Sounds good. Sounds like you had a good learning opportunity on this podcast from the last
Yeah,
time we've interviewed.
yeah, it's good. It's a little it's funny because it's not the first time I've done an interview with someone and it didn't save because I interviewed Jordan Wilkins. I went to Memphis, interviewed him, and came home and it just wasn't there. So it's all good though. Technology, maybe human error, but a little bit of both. Okay, Denny. So off the top, for those that have no idea who you are that are listening to the podcast, who is Denny Locasio? Short
I'm
summary.
give, yeah. Shortest summary I give you is uh, Jesus follower, husband, father, fitness professional. That would be as
Okay.
quick and short as I could give to you, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. Perfect. So take the picture. So Denny, when I was in, I believe seventh grade, my dad, I believe you met my dad through where? How did you and my dad meet?
Yep. So if we want to start, I was finishing up school at USF, an exercise science degree, and working in the athletic department for the strength and conditioning. And there's a local high school. Matter of fact, the school you started at, Freedom High School, they were looking for a strength and conditioning coach for a few hours a week. So I got interviewed for that job, got that job, and then maybe just a few short months into it, a gentleman by the name of Woodrow Grady comes rolling in the doors. And if anyone knows your dad, he has a presence, and it may not be his room, but he'll act like he owns the room. So
Always.
so he comes in there and said, "Hey, you got an extra hour or so a week? I got these 8-star athletes from the middle school. I want you to train them." And I didn't turn down that offer. So just so happens you and a few of your closest friends, I got to start training, 7th and 8th graders who now, I mean, I've got to know you now for 13 years, over 13 years. And seen you guys come a long way from middle school age all the way to where most of you all are at now. Family men, business owners, all the above.
Right. Yeah. Solid. Okay. So Denny was the first person to ever train me, taught me all the basics, how to squat, bench, all of the things, speed, work, ladder. We like, again, I think this was seventh grade, ended up going to Freedom, like you mentioned, in high school and in Armwood. And through whatever location, whether it was at Freedom or at Sports Field or at Impact, like this was the spot. I would go, like when I was at Armwood, like Saturdays after the game, I think we're at Sports Field, and going into college, I would come home. This was just the location to go to. And it was just really a place, I think, for a lot of young men, is it just built a community, to have a space where, for us, or we could go somewhere where we weren't talking about school, we weren't talking about the game, we were just kind of kicking it a little bit, but also working hard. Like we had some of the craziest workouts I remember there was one with the jacks, I think, something, and if you pulled a jack, it meant you was going on the treadmill or something. It was like that. I still remember.
Joker's
The
Wild.
Joker. Yeah, that one. So yeah, then he throwing up. I think the first time I ever threw up working out was at Freedom doing a workout that you had us doing. It wasn't the last time. I know Jimmy speaks often, Jimmy Stewart, my teammate who works out with us now, speaks often about when him and Kellen came. This was when you were at the first location at Impact, and he threw up after the workout. So yeah, Denny's put a hurt on us for sure.
Josh, in my younger years, I'd have a lot of pride in knowing that I had guys throw up in workouts, and I've gotten a little kinder in my aging years.
Yeah.
I've had a little more grace with people, and I no longer consider someone throwing up a good workout. But in those younger years, yes, we had a lot of fun. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember this just from the mental side of it,
right.
Not necessarily from the physical side of this. I remember you losing a very heartbreaking state championship game at Armwood, I believe your senior year. And then you were at Impact the next day. Not to say we did some, epic workout or anything like you said, but it was the mentality of knowing, hey, this chapter of my life is done. I need to start moving on to the next chapter, which was for you preparing for college, getting ready for Vanderbilt, getting ready to do these things. And, like I said, we're not in there max squatting and doing all these whatever workouts we want to do, but there was work to be done somehow, some way. So that kind of comes, we talked about that early on. You just talked about that, but just the mentality of that.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it's just so many things. I think it even learned because we would do like, I remember going in the ice tub and then going into the hot tub and like kind of just challenging ourselves a little bit. Like it was a good time, camaraderie, which was definitely needed, especially at that young, that's a vulnerable age, I think, for a lot of young men. So having that community, is needed. Okay, so to paint the picture for individuals. So Denny, you're from Clearwater, St. Pete. St. Pete. He's from St. Pete. Went to USF, got your degree. How did you get into working within athletics? Like work training individuals? What interests you in working in the body? Like how did you get onto that path?
Yeah, Josh, I've grown up around athletics my whole life. From a young kid, I've never known a time I wasn't around athletics. My family, my uncles, whoever, everyone was into something. Probably wrestling, football, baseball. Those are probably the top sports my family was into. But early on, I always liked being around the gym. I always liked working out, just learning it, being around it, whatever it was. And, I went to school at USF. And I knew I wanted to do something around athletics. I knew I wanted to do something around fitness. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know really where to go, what to do, or anything like that. But I happened to be playing rugby at USF, and I was in my sophomore year, and there was a senior on the team. His name was Matt Pippin, and he was an intern for the strength and conditioning department at USF. And they were looking for more interns that summer. They were going from their old facility to a brand new facility. They're looking for more interns. And he said, Denny, I think this is something you might be interested in. You could really learn more about yourself. And that was a pivotal moment for me, that now I'm learning what strength and conditioning is, what this training is surrounding athletics. And I took that and I ran with it. I was lucky to have the opportunity with Coach McKeefrey at USF that he took me as an intern. And I did that for the next 4 years, which just led to other opportunities like you and I meeting at at Freedom, get where I'm at today. So I did all that, learned that exercise science was a degree that I should be going for school, learning all the different sports, all the different training modalities, just really getting a diverse population of people in that. And so once I was coming up on my last semester of school, you have to do a full-time internship. So 15 months, 15 weeks for 40 hours a week, I had to do an internship. So I'd already spent 4 years as an intern for USF. So I was looking for a different opportunity, and I took out this private training facility in Tampa. And once I was there, I really learned I like the private sector of it, where I can reach people from different age groups, not just college. And I could do younger kids, older kids, professionals, adults, just a wide range of people. And I really got interested in that. And after I graduated, got hired there, spent 4.5 years there. And myself and Biko, we left that place to start our own place. Now it's called Impact Fitness. We've been around 8.5 years, and just really having a calling to help the youth locally in the areas, Tampa Bay area, obviously top 3 city in America for high school football. So got really connected and deep with the local high school football area. And just met kids like yourself, other kids in the area, and we just ran with it. And we've had a good run. We've been around for 8.5 years now, and just have a real passion for helping to, for lack of better words, impact the community, impact kids, not just physically, athletically, but just mentally, spiritually, all those things as well.
I was just gonna hint on that. So for you, and something that I picked up on is like, you were someone that was always giving us books and sending out podcasts, sending out, hey, watch this video or read this here, this article, whatever it can be. And you were first giving me a book. I remember the first time when you gave me, I think it was the one The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I think that was the first book you gave me. And I didn't read it for some years. Like, it was just sitting there. But then I read it and I was like, now I had read, you had suggested books along the way and I read and we would talk. But I remember this book in particular because I believe this was the first one you gave me. And I don't think it's that big. Yeah. And I know you gave it to me though. And I might have been in high school, maybe a little older high school, earlier in college. But when I came around to reading it years later, I was like, I see why he gave me this book. And it had tied. It's just funny because it had tied in. Seeing this book, maybe it was 4 years later that I ended up reading it. That everything that I had tried, like somewhat picked up along the way, it was like that was in the book, And so for you, I guess, can you speak more on, like you even mentioned a little bit with Scott, and I know like Scott, shout out Scott Savoy, Scott Big Sir as well. He actually hit me up. I gotta get back to him. He hit me up on LinkedIn, but I know he's like big into the mindset of things and the psychology of things. Can you speak more on, I guess, like how you started? Like, when did that journey for you start of trying to unpack the mental side of life?
Absolutely. I mean, you led right into it where Scott was a huge influence on me when it came from the continuing education, not just strength conditioning, but what are the other tools in the toolbox that you're using, and just big on just starting off on a couple good books. And I just kept diving in deeper. I just kept reading. I mean, I had bookshelves. It was just recently I donated a lot of my books that weren't not necessarily my top books that I wouldn't recommend, but I mean, I got bookshelves of books I kept diving into. And you led into it. One of my top 5 most influential books in my life was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And we can chat a little bit about, what are some influential books for you, and I can give you my top 5 list.
Right.
But I just, once I started down that road of just learning more, I couldn't get enough. And it's something that to this day, it's still with me. Now, I don't necessarily read at that pace I read at in early life, just with having, married and having kids right now. Sometimes you have the ebbs and flows of life, and sometimes you read more than other times you don't read as much.
Right.
But once you get into a book that you can't set down, it's so hard to find that feeling of a book that you just can't set down. You're taking it with you everywhere you go, and you can't stop either audio listening to it or physically reading it. And again, that Monk so as far as a very short book, but an impactful book. And I think about these top 5 books in my life, and most of them, other than the Bible, are pretty short.
So this was going to be the question. Since you just spoke on it, what is your top 5?
Yeah, very easy to say the Bible number 1, and then off of that, maybe a little bit of order, maybe not. But next would be Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Again, short book, but extremely powerful. Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. The next one is Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover. So talking about a financial book, and specifically someone early on who may have like a little bit of debt or needs some guidance on where to go to for money. So different stages in life, different books have different meanings. And this would be, I would say, for someone early on in life, and just knowing that the cost of having debt, the cost of where you're going to put your money, what you're going to do with it. And I'm having this book early on set me up for so much success with my family moving forward and later in life.
Good.
Yep. The next book is The 5 Love Languages. And so I would not have the relationship I have with my wife had it not been for this book. There's a time in our lives, I would say it saved our relationship. And it has been a game changer. So for influential books, that's my 5. What about you?
Those are good. Those are solid. So you mentioned the Bible, you mentioned The Man's Search for Meaning. So I read both of those. So I won't use those because those will be give more. I have not read The 5 Love Languages. Our marital counselors, they utilize though a lot of, they kind of broke it down, everything, and we did a whole kind of program talking through it as well. So I have not read the book though. Dave Ramsey, we have a Financial Peace University book, so not that same one, but if it's similar, I would imagine it's, very fruitful. And then, like you said, Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. So I'll give a whole new 5. Then I would say to specify, so you said the Bible, so I would spin off of that. I'll say my favorite book in the Bible Right now, I would say would be Proverbs. So I would say Proverbs, since it is a book still. Um, Man, Search for Me is so good. I would say Tony Robbins, Money Master the Game. So that would be a financial, very different, I would assume, than Dave Ramsey's. So that would be my second though as well.
Yeah,
Very similar. Like,
I throw that I throw that one in the category of once you're past the initial stage of how to get like the snowball effect of paying off your debts, getting a 6-month emergency fund set up, doing those simple things, I think is where Dave Ramsey starts. And I think where that book comes in is once you're there and how to invest and take your money that you now have and making and how to get that to last a long time. I think that's a fantastic book. That'd be my second financial book I'd ever recommend.
Yeah, that it really just showed me. I think what it did for me more than anything is it just kind of showed me that like wealth is possible, but it also is that it looks different for everyone and it's okay. So I think now it really showed me like being rich is not the goal, I suppose. So I'll have that one in there. I'm trying to think. There's a book called Maximize Manhood. Do not know the name of the author, but a very short book. It is really good, really impactful. Dang, that's three. I gotta get two more. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I would need to reread it probably, but it just really opened my eyes. It used a lot of words I had never heard before. So I say Mere Christianity for sure. And then a fifth book. That's a good one. I would say there's a book called Letters to the Church by Francis Chan that is very impactful as well. Speaking somewhat of the discussion that we just had, Denny, just about the potential movement of the church, like it really tied into that as well. So I would say those would be my five. But it's just,
Great.
What would you say it is about a book? Because I'm a believer, like there's a period of time where I stopped reading. Like when I went to college, really, as I get into high school and college, I just like, I don't really want to be reading anymore. But you come to find out it's only because you were reading stuff that you had no interest in. But what is it do you think about once you kind of found that, hey, reading books is kind of like, this is good for me. And you kind of said, like you said, you just dove in. What is it about a book that is just like, once you get a good one, it's so addictive?
I think it starts with a growth mindset. So you and I are type of people that we want to be learning, we want to be doing more, we want to be growing, whether it be as a husband, as a father, as a business owner, as a human being. We crave a lot of times to learn and to grow and to do more. And I think books are one of those tools. And people have gone down these lessons and it speeds up our lessons faster. Like he learned, Dave Ramsey's learned these mistakes financially. So he's passed on those lessons to you and I, so we can learn them faster than he did, or whatever it is. Parables that parables like either the Bible or the monk who sold his Ferrari. May not be a true story, but it's written in a way for you to understand it. And I think those are just things that, I don't know, maybe it's just humans. We've always been readers, and you start reading things and it's like, man, you could relate to that and you can learn from that. Like I read a book this year. It's been out for a couple of years, but the most influential book I've read this year. Now I say it, and that comes off the top of my head, but it's about stoicism. And
okay. I think you told me about this book.
Yeah.
I forgot the name, huh?
I know. His first book was Ego is the Enemy. And this one is The Obstacle is the Way. Thank you. Obstacle is the Way.
The obstacle is the way.
And just goes by everything that's kind of going on in 2020. There's so many obstacles, but it's our observation, how we handle these things, and how we can use these things for the good. And I don't know, just trying to be better, trying to get better. And you don't just physically have to read books. There's other ways around it. You can do nowadays. You can do audio books. You can do YouTube. There's so many ways now to get through books.
That's true. That's good. So, is there another book? Are you reading a current book? Is that the book that you're currently reading?
No, I've been done with that. Matter of fact, I'm reading a book right now on different NFL quarterbacks and their dads. So the relationship between the dad and quarterbacks in the NFL. And so it kind of gives perspective on how they were raised, how their dads were either in or out of their lives, just their stories from both the father and the son, which it was actually recommended through that author Ryan Holiday on Stoicism. And so I've enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's like a phenomenal book, but I definitely learned a lot too. Because obviously, I just want to be one of the best dads out there for my kids.
Right. Okay, so tying into that, so you are married. How long have you and Amber been married?
Great question. 6 years.
That's funny. Even when people ask me now how long y'all been married, I'm like, and we're in between 1 and 2. I don't know what to say. But yeah, okay, so 6 years. But y'all have been together how long? It's been a while now.
Yeah, you really tested me now.
At least since I've known you, gotta be, right?
16 years since we first dated. How about that?
16 years since you first dated. Okay. What is it? Because I've had little here before. We've talked about marriage and things of that nature. I love being married. Like, I love marriage. I love our family, everything. But we see, or at least I've seen, that a lot of men can be fearful of marriage. Women as well can be fearful of marriage and hesitant. And a lot of men can't carry this perception, I don't want to be tied down and all of these whatevers that as you go through college and culture that you can maybe adopt. For you being 6 years in, what is it about Amber that is like, because I know like you love Amber, you love your family, you love your children. What is it about having her that's like, this is for life? Like, I'm in long haul.
Yeah, the number one thing about my wife, her biggest attribute is her unselfishness. She's one of the most unselfish people I've ever met in my life. But that's about her. I think our marriage is she makes me a better person. I'm not the same person without her that I am with her. She's probably been my greatest teacher, one of my greatest teachers in life. I'm a better person because I'm with her because we're married.
Right. Simple. Yeah. Okay. You also have 2 children. Can you, I guess, so you have Aubrey is how old?
About to be 4.
Aubrey's about to be 4. Aubrey's his daughter, firstborn. And then Maddox is how old?
A year and 3 months.
Year and 3 months. Okay. How is it you are a business owner, you're trainer, husband, dad of 2. How is it being able to manage everything that you have going on?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows this. It's not easy. For us, though, how we make it work best is I heard Tony Robbins talk about this. And to us, for him, he said it's not work-life balance, but work-life integration. So how can you integrate those things? And
it's not, say that one more time. It's not work-life balance.
Yep. But it's work-life integration. So how can you work your life and your work together? And just something. So my kids are involved here at the gym, or the gym is involved with my kids, or setting up in time. So for me, families are priority. So I can't be committed to being at the gym 70, 80 hours a week. It's just not going to work for my family. Some families that can work, it's just not going to work for us. So knowing what you can and can't do and being communicative with your family on what can and can't work and working towards those things. So, life is that roller coaster ride. There's going to be times that are more family time. There's going to be times there's more work time. I think it's about communicating that and working through those things and knowing what works best for that individual. So what worked best for the Grady's, for you and your wife may not be what works best for the Locasio. So I think it's about knowing who you are as a family, what your values are, what your goals are, those things, and about talking that, communicating that.
Was there ever a time for you and Amber, whether with Aubrey or with Maddox, that you felt like you were putting your child or children first before your marriage? I know that's something that can be common. That's something me and Lyd have had discussions with already with Roman, which I think is a part of it. Was that anything that y'all had to work through, or is there anything that you would want to touch on, I guess, in regards to that? Because I think that's something a lot of marriages can struggle with.
Absolutely. That's 100% going to happen, I think, with every couple who has kids. I mean, kids early on, they require so much. They can't take care of themselves. Maddox at 1 year old can't take care of themselves. Aubrey at 4, a good amount of time she can, take care of herself. But I also think it's about setting up support systems and priorities. Like, hey, if we had a date once a month, would that, fill up your love tank? Or if we did this, or we did that, just knowing what it would take to support each other. And is it a daily text? Is it these things that help fill up that love tank? Or is it gifts? To me, it goes back to those 5 love languages. How can you continue to make deposits into that bank account to keep each other fulfilled and to feel like you're connected. But again, there's times where, like you said, those kids may take over. And I think sometimes it's getting back on track and openly communicating like, hey, listen, I'm not feeling the love right now. Can we have a date, or can we go out, or could we do something? I think it's knowing and seeing sometimes the signs in other people. Do I get it right? Absolutely not. I don't get it right all the time. But I think it comes back to having grace with each other and respect. And when the other person has something to say, and listening and taking it in, and swallowing our pride and getting back on track.
Yes. I was going to say, I think that is the hardest and toughest part about communication for couples, is being able, like for me, the ability for Lid to say, no, you're wrong. Like, you're wrong, or this was wrong, or you hurt me, or whatever it might be, and to not have a rebuttal. I think that is like being able to just, be quiet, I think is a skill that I'm slowly trying to learn, but it's becoming helpful. Like, just don't say anything. You brought up the 5 languages, the 5 love languages. And I know you had mentioned, we don't have to get into it too far the details, but I know you had mentioned this book really helped your relationship. What was it about the 5 love languages that was so impactful for you and Amber that, has helped you all?
Yeah, that's easy, Josh. So the 5 love languages: words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, quality time, and acts of service. And so Amber is predominantly quality time and words of affirmation. So she, loves to hear, Amber, you did a great job. Amber, you look beautiful today. Thank you so much for all you do for the family, the kids. Like, that fills her up more than anything else. I could get her the largest diamond ring in the world, but if I told her today, Amber, you're one of the hardest working female, managers at your business, that would fill her up more so than me getting her a big diamond ring. Not to say it's one's bad or one's worse. That's just who she is. That's what fills her up. Us spending time together, going on a date or going to the park, like that would be more so for her than if I clean the dishes. Me, on the other hand, physical touch. I would say most men are physical touch, and you could never compliment me and say, Denny, I can't believe how strong you are on those workouts. Like, that wouldn't make or break my day, and I'd be okay if no one ever said that. It wouldn't bother me. But if we're not having physical touch, I'm like, what's wrong? There's something going on here. And I think more often than not, the love language we want is more often the love language we give out.
Correct.
And so if I'm sitting in a room with Amber holding her hands, or I got my arms around her, I'm thinking, man, she should be pretty happy. I'm giving physical touch, but
you want it.
Yes. But the whole time she wants me to talk to her. And so you can see early on, they say like the first 2 years of dating is the honeymoon phase. And so you don't see necessarily what's wrong or what's not working in your relationship those first 2 years, because you're in the honeymoon phase. But once that washes off, you kind of see what's going on in the relationship. And a lot of times either, people haven't gone through those things and learned about each other. And all of a sudden now they're in a crisis mode. Now they got to figure things out pretty quickly. But then you start seeing where all relationships at some point are going to have tough times. So do you have a mechanism for working through those tough times and getting back on track? So for me, I had to learn how to speak a different language. I had to learn that what is words of affirmation, what does, quality time mean to her, and being able to, again, fill up her love tank. So do those things that she needs. And, not to say I'm perfect, but I feel like I'm a lot better than I was 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
That's good. You touched on a lot of good things there. Is one, it is learning a new language, because it sounds to me like Lydia is very similar to Amber, where it's so funny. The lady that did our marriage counseling, her name is Eve, and she said, not necessarily in a sense with love language, very similar, but I like surprises. I like the whole thing about surprises. Lyd does not like surprises. Like, she wants things planned. She wants to know whatever it could be. Early on in our relationship, I would surprise her with stuff and they would never go well. They will always be just not good. And Eve, she had told, and she broke it down just so simple. She's like, Joshua, you surprise Lyd because you need to be surprised. And then she told Liz, she was like, you need to surprise him. I'm like, something so little. And it's the same thing, whether it's the touch, with the time. And I think it's just the understanding, but as well as it can be fluid too in whatever
Yep.
season that you might be in. I know like with Roman being born, touch, zero. Touch went to
Yep.
zero. That's just off the top. But acts of service grew. Oh, now you're more tired. You like Starbucks more. Okay, I'm gonna ramp up the amount of times I'm headed into Starbucks.
Yep.
So it just one thing going back to marriage counseling. The husband, his name is Wayne, so it's Wayne and Eve. One thing he said as well is husbands need to always be a student of your wife. So always study your
That's right.
wife. Always
That's right.
see, pay attention to what's making her tick, what's not, what's upsetting her. Because if you really do pay attention, women kind of give clues. It might take some time. It's going to take,
Yep.
it might take a little bit, but you can start figuring out. I think it kind of, like you said, boils down to the communication.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Two things, Josh, on this five love languages. I think people over time, listen, we're allowed to adjust and change who we are and do different things. So it may be early on in your life, you have been this one, or maybe later in life you start changing. So it goes back to what you just said too, is continuing to learn and to learn about each other and learn about ourselves and grow. On the second thing on this is not only is it about relationships with our significant others, but I think you can use these ideas and our relationships with other people. So our friends, our coworkers, anything like that. Like, how can, you have a friend that loves words of affirmation, or you have a client, someone who likes hearing that stuff. How easy is it for you to learn about these things and to invest in them and build that relationship too with that, maybe your friend, they enjoy a hug. You give that friend, you haven't seen him in a while, you give them a hug, man, that fills them up more so than anything else. It's just about those little things too. I think we can take with us in the professional side of things as well.
That's good. That's so true. And I noticed that working with our guys, because every client we have is different. Yep. And like you said, certain guys need a word of affirmation.
Yep.
Sterling might need this. George needs that. Scotty needs that. Whatever it could be. So that's right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I want to switch to a little bit. The ruck. Okay. So I don't know how many people listening to this have gone on a ruck, RUCK, before, but this here is the OG rucker from my perspective, at least. Denny, can you talk on I guess off the top, what is rucking? What is that?
In simple terms, walking with a weighted backpack. That's about as simple as you can get. Going for a distance of walking with a weighted backpack, some type of weight in a backpack.
Okay, the first ruck you ever did. Can you tell us the story?
Oh yeah, I'll never forget it. So back at the end of 2017, I was reviewing my goals for the year. So personally, professionally, family-wise. And I noticed personally, when it came to fitness, I did my best when I had some type of contest or something I was entered in, and I had something to train for. I always did my best because it gave me something to work for. And so I was looking at 2018 on what I could do each month for a fitness goal. So I think January, there's a 5K race in my neighborhood. That March, there's going to be a 15K race over the Skyway Bridge. I think April, we're going to do like a 5K run into a 5K paddleboard. Like, we had stuff on the schedule. I was looking for something locally to do in February. And I didn't want to travel or do anything. So I was looking up and I saw this Go Ruck event. So Go Ruck is a company who makes backpacks. And they're like, the world's heaviest duty backpack, lifetime warranty. They're a military background based company. And they had this 50-mile race in Tampa. So in 20 hours or less, you had to navigate 50 miles throughout Tampa as a team of 5 people or less. And it starts at 9:00 at night. You got to be done by 5:00 the next day. I thought, that sounds like a pretty good challenge to me. And so I signed up not knowing what I'm getting myself into. I had bought in a backpack for Black Friday, but I didn't use it other than bring stuff with me to the gym. Okay. And so I think I did maybe a couple of rucks on my own for maybe 7 miles at the most, just to train. Like, oh, it's not too bad. Well, fast forward to the actual game day of the ruck, and what is known, I would consider one of my largest failures. I made it to 40 miles. I did not make the 50 miles, made it to 40 miles, and I would not have made it that far had it not been for the 4 other guys on the team practically carrying me to get me there. And I made it to 40 miles at like 11 in the morning, and I got to a park, and I called Amber, and I said, "Come get me." And I fell asleep on a park bench, and in the middle of people walking around me. I didn't even care. That's how much I didn't care. I said, "Just come and get me. Wake me up when you get here." And she took an hour to get me. And literally, the story's been written ever since. Like I have fallen in love with it, the challenge of it, the community aspect of it, something that anybody can do since that day, since that challenge. I laugh about it often, how sometimes a failure in our lives can set us up for so many other successes.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Dang, that's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember because I think you had, if I'm correct, you had posted something on this on Instagram, I think, and I had seen that you were doing it, and I was like,
Yep.
that's insane. And I still think it is. But since then, you have obviously, you got a YouTube. We'll talk on the social media, but you got a YouTube channel that you put some videos together. You've been rucking for a while. You've done some rucks with your mom, your wife, your child, the group, the neighborhood, so on and so forth, numerous places. What is it about rucking itself? Like for somebody listening, they're like, what the heck? Like 50 miles. Now I know all of them are not to that length, but to someone that's not listening, what is it about that experience? Like, what is it like going on just a normal ruck? Like, what is that experience like, I guess? Like, why is that something that people do enjoy coming together about?
Yeah, I first think it gives somebody a challenge of something between running and walking. So a lot of people come from the background like, oh, I don't want to run, and then you get people like, hey, walking's okay. It is what it is, but it's just not challenging enough. So now you add some weight to a backpack to get your heart rate up a little bit higher, a little bit more of a challenge than just regular walking, but you're not getting the running aspect of it, and so that's pretty attractive to a lot of people. I think secondly,
I hate running, so that
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And that I hear a lot from a lot of people like, I hate running, I don't like it. Well, here's an option for you other than just walking. I think the second component of it is the community aspect of to it. Like you and I can go on a ruck for however long, 6-10 miles, and we can have a conversation the entire 3 to 4 hours we're out there walking and getting to know each other better, because it's not strenuous enough where you're running, you can't really talk sometimes when you're running that hard. But you and I can have a conversation the whole time. We can listen to music, podcasts. You can get out and see nature. You get out to see your city. Like a lot of times we'll do these rucks throughout the city, say it's Tampa, or you could do one up there in Nashville, and you get to see the city you live in. You're slowing down enough to be still enough and to see the beauty of what's around you. I think there's some great aspects of it. It has a military background to it. So the military community, obviously they're attracted to that part of it. Again, that kind of sums up. And to know you have everything you need is with you on your backpack. You take everything you need, food, water, snacks, whatever it is, it's there with you the whole time. Like you're going backpacking, you're going hiking, things like that. It's something a whole family can do. Like my wife, daughter, my mom, between her moving in with us and strength training 2-3 times a week, but she on the other times likes to ruck, and she's lost 20 pounds since moving in with us. So you have that component of the health component to it.
That's what's up. I like how, to me, I've never done a ruck. I've walked, I've not done a ruck, but there is a place here called the Runway that is a 6-mile kind of down and back that we'll walk, we'll take chance, we'll go with Roman out there. So one, I tell Lyd, you must already be rucking, because what is the woman is 20 pounds, right?
Exactly. So it just depends. It depends on people's body weight, but absolutely,
okay.
if Lydia or you were carrying, Roman in the Ergo Baby, you are rucking.
That's a ruck, right? Yeah, that's what. So I'm like, Lydia, you're already doing it. But exactly. I have, because I've never enjoyed running. Like I play sports, but like just to run, I've not enjoyed it because I've always felt like pain on my knees, just like aches. I didn't like it. But since we had walked, like one, without the weight, it's like 6 mile walking in Nashville in June now. Like that's okay. Like that's a good little workout. So I would imagine that rucking itself, and I even like how Amber, when we came down there, Amber was saying like, yeah, sometimes you could listen to a podcast, you can do whatever, and I think it's just I would like to experience one for sure. Well, I mean, next time I get down there, we gotta see if we can make something happen. What is your YouTube channel, by the way, for people to check out any of your rucking videos?
I would start off on YouTube, type in my name. I don't think I
Okay.
know the exact tag on YouTube. I'm on the other social media. I'm Strong Dlo, StrongDlo, Strong Dlo.
Okay.
I'd have to see if that's official on YouTube, but I would
But
just
is your
type in
YouTube
my name
link
first.
your YouTube
Yes,
link is on Instagram? Yes.
yes. It's in
Okay.
the profile.
Okay. So definitely check them out. Check out the rut. Check out all those things.
Yep,
Denny, a question for you. Just a few more questions.
all
For
good.
I am a big believer in just doing right by your body. Doing right by your body, being mindful of your exercise levels, what you're eating, your intake, drinking, hydration, all sleep, everything, whatever it can be. For you, if you could talk to somebody who right now they want to take a step and change their physical body. They want to take a step. They want to get healthier in one some shape or way, but to them the goal is too daunting. Like it seems so far out from where they want to be. What would be the first step that you think someone should take if they want to tangibly change their body right now?
Josh, I would start off with saying you got to do one thing at a time. It's the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So I think people sometimes they have these big goals, and there's nothing wrong with those, but they try taking on too much too soon, and they get overloaded when it gets too hard, and then they stop everything.
Mm,
So what's something you can just start with? Can you start with drinking, 2 liters of water a day and
right.
committing to that for a week? And then once you have that habit created, let's take on the next thing and create another habit. Can you start by walking for 30 minutes every day? And you've created that habit. Let's add in something, let's add in some strength training. You've created that habit. Let's talk about changing breakfast. And now you've
Mm.
committed to changing breakfast every day. Let's add in lunch now. You change lunch. Now let's fix on, dinner or whatever it is. Let's take on these small micro goals, which lead to the big things, the big goals. That's really how I would start.
How does someone who knows they can do it in whatever it might be, whether even if it has nothing to do with the body, whatever goal it might be, because I know you are someone that believes in the ability of goals and the power of goals. How does someone become consistent? You are someone that you've been on this journey for years. You and your wife have known each other for 16 years. Once something's like a part of you is in there, I'm assuming you're going to be rucking till you're about 50, 60, 70. How does someone remain consistent when right now it's hard for them to be consistent? How does that happen?
I think there's a couple ways. I think you have to put things in your schedule or in your life to hold you accountable. And those could be good things. Like you can reward yourself for working out so many times. Hey, I did my 3 strength training workouts this week. I'm going to go buy myself a Lululemon t-shirt, or, hey, I'm going to go do this. So I think those are good motivators for people. Or, hey, listen, I get to have a snack, or I get to have some type of sweet because I did so many things right, or I woke up early every day and I read my book 20 pages every day. Like you could set those goals. I also think there's like the reverse goal, which if you really need some motivation, set something up in the way where it hurts you somehow, some way if you don't do it. So you put $500, you give it to your wife or your friend and say, hey, if I don't do this goal, you can take it or you can donate it to some organization that you would
Mm.
never want that donated to. So I can throw some
Okay.
politics in here, Josh. If I say, hey, if you don't call Scott back, you got to donate $1,000 to the Trump campaign. And I know you would do all you could. You would make sure that would not happen.
But I call Scott back. Mm.
Exactly. So I think that
Okay.
there's some tricky stuff in there that you can do reverse bets. Like you
Yeah.
make it where you'll no matter what you're going to do, you're going to make sure that happens. So I think there's things in life that you can set yourself up with, like, hey, I'm not going to do this unless I do this first. So I think it's sometimes getting to know yourself, getting crafty, and having other people help you be accountable, and telling other people what that your goals and dreams are, and allow them to help you, because I'm sure you'd want to help other people out too.
Right. Solid. Speaking of, can we take a slight pause? I know that little picture that's right behind you. Let me get a little screenshot of that one.
Hold on.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
Ooh, y'all see that there? I like it. Look at that. Love it. Love that there.
Got on the wall.
Yeah, look at the wall. Look at the wall. Can we get who else is up there? They y'all got a fridge in there now?
Yeah, we got the real fridge. So there's nothing on here. You got it'd be the jerseys in here.
Okay.
I think you would like.
Yeah, give them a little tour. So for those that are listening on the audio, Denny is giving us a tour. We're looking at the gym. Who's that? Matt Jones, Vernon, Christian, Jackson. Who's that?
Amari
Jackson. Then we got a few. We got some basketball, DRC, baseball, Royal. He's still playing. Karen Willie Name. That's what's up.
Yep. Christian's now with Boston Red Sox.
Red Sox. Okay.
Cameron, AP, SJ. So now we're going down here to the Century Club.
We got soccer. We got Keith. There you go. There go the jerseys.
There's Josh, Deontay.
That's what's up. Al Covington.
TJ. Jarrell, Kyle Gibson. Vinny, your boy. Chaz.
Chaz up there. That's Auden too, huh?
And I got about 20 other jerseys. I still need a frame inside the office.
That's coming together there, though.
Yeah, we might have to do a second level.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's awesome. Okay. So one question I would ask while you're walking back, Denny, what would it be? So for those that I might not have clarified this earlier. So Denny is, a business owner. This is his gym, runs his own gym, been running his gym for a minute. Impact Fitness. If you're in the Tampa area, Wesley Chapel, all the things, all that area, check out Impact Fitness. Denny, what would be one tip that you would give to someone that is currently starting their own business? They're going on their own venture. What is one tip that you would give to that person?
Something, Josh, before we start going deep into this, can we make sure this is recording again?
Yeah, we're good. No, yes, we are good. I see the recording. We are still good. We're all gravy. All right. I've been looking at it, though, to make sure it's still going.
Yeah, so something that we did about a year and a half ago, Josh, that's completely upgraded us as a company is starting off with the core values. So you could do this for you personally. You could do this for you both and professionally. So maybe you have core values as a family. You have core values as a company. And so Corey and I went through this about a year and a half ago, and it just gave us just a solid foundation on a guiding compass on what impact is and where we're going, what we're going to do to get there, how we train the trainers, just everything about us, is based off this strong foundation of core values. And that's what that would be my suggestion, is starting there and coming up with, whether it be your own personal, family, or professional core values as a company, and then building off of that, building the business off of that foundation.
What are Impact's core values?
Yep. So we use the word impact, and each letter has a phrase behind it. So I being inspire a culture of self-discipline. So for us, that's a big deal, because it can't always be about us dragging people through, whether it be a workout or getting them there. Like, they have to have some type of self-discipline to push themselves, to show up every day, to eat right, to sleep, to do these things. It can't all be about us. You're not going to get the goals you need if it's only about the trainers doing the work. M is members are family. So we want to treat people like family, not just members. P is prioritize relationships over numbers. So as business, you got to have the numbers. Like, the business can't survive unless you look at the numbers, but we want to make sure the relationships still come first over those numbers. And then the A is always be growing. So we've talked a lot about this on the podcast today, is how we're growing, personally and professionally. And C is character is what you do when no one's watching. So if we set up you to exercise, we set up you on some type of high intensity cardio,
But if you ain't doing it,
exactly. Are you still giving me your best effort if I just so happen to look the other way? Are you doing those things? And the last one, T, is the courage to do your best. And that a lot goes off to the ruck. So I may or may not have been prepared for that 50 miler, but I still entered the race and I was still the man in the arena. Whether or not I could or could not do it, I still had the courage to challenge ourselves. And I think I see it right now, a lot of younger kids having a hard time with that. And I think a lot of that's due to social media, where kids are afraid to put their work out there because they may get bashed or made fun of or whatever it is. And so why put any work out there if it's not like the successful stuff? And to us, it's not always about the success. It could be a failure, it could be not, but are you still having the courage to do your best work?
That's good. Do you all, I have two questions. Do you all, one, you talk about social media, being a parent, and I want to come back to, there's another thing I will have to think on it while you're answering. Do you have any fears at all about raising a child in the social media climate that we are in?
Yeah, great question, Josh. I only have one fear with my kids, and that I live past them living. So that and them dying before I do. That is my one and only fear about kids. So saying that, talking about social media, Amber and I have been aware very early on. Maddox a little too young, but with Aubrey, about the difference in her behavior when it came to social media, or not social media, just her and technology, when it's used and when it's not used. And her behavior is not nearly as good as when she's not using it. So we noticed early on how much technology interfered with her behavior, and we made a conscious effort to cut back on it with her. And she's at her best when she is outside in nature. That is when Aubrey's at her best. So I'm not saying it's every kid, but that's what's worked best for us, and we've paid attention to it and noticed it.
Right.
Not to say it may change when she gets older. I don't know, but we're as a parent, we're always trying to be aware of it.
That is something that Lydia has definitely made a priority on with Roman, is not having him exposed to technology as much as you really can. It's you can't go to a restaurant these days without honestly there being something. But definitely trying to be mindful. It's interesting that you say that. When he is outside, if we're inside and he's fussing, even if we're if we're on the phone, if we take him outside, silence.
That's right.
He's good. It's just, so that's something that I've definitely realized early with him. Going back, there's a quote that you have mentioned multiple times, I think at least since I've known you, just kind of hinted it. The man in the arena. What that concept, can you just speak on that really quickly about like what it means to be the man in the arena?
Absolutely, Josh. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. I can't quote it verbatim, but let me see if I can pull it up for you.
Yeah, take your time. You're good. I'm about to open up a Snickers. Snickers should be paying me. Here you go. Also, if there's anyone listening to this, if y'all work with a company and you want to get involved with the podcast, hit me up. We're taking sponsors. Okay, so but Snickers, I should get some money for that. Do you have
I like it how you're eating Snickers and you're talking to me about fitness.
You see it? Hey, but you said though, you said you always got to reward yourself. Now I shouldn't, because my phone was dead, so I missed my workout this morning. But
what's the anti-reward from making me do this podcast twice?
I don't know. Should be something though, because that last one was good too. But this one, it's good. We've had some discussion that wasn't in the last episode, so it's solid.
Gotcha. All right, so here we go. Theodore Roosevelt. So Teddy Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who never knew victory nor defeat. Yeah,
man,
to me
that's powerful.
I know it's so powerful.
That's fire.
To me, it's just about, you got to get out, like going out there and doing the work, whether you fail or you don't. I think the prize is you You did. Yeah. It may feel even better for winning, but it's something about living within your soul, living within you, knowing that you went out there and you were the one you or your team or your, as a family, you were the ones in the arena doing the work.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good because it is. I like where he said with the doer, something even with the literal terminology that or literal he was using. Oh no, I'm not saying that right. The doer of deeds, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a famous book recently. I can't remember her name, but Daring Greatly. I think Brene Brown. She's very famous.
Brene Brown is amazing.
So that's that her book, Daring Greatly, comes from that right there. That from Teddy Roosevelt's speech.
Okay.
That right there is one of two quotes that I have hanging in my office.
Do you have, what's the other one?
Yep. So do you know who famous basketball coach, Pyramid of Success? Why can't I think of his name right now? Yeah, I should be in trouble for not knowing his name.
Okay.
I've not been on my game today for coming up with things.
Too much rugby.
Yeah, that's right. John Wooden.
Okay.
You know who John Wooden is, Josh?
UCLA coach.
There we go. Probably one of the winningest coaches of all time, right? So he's got a quote about being a parent, and you give me 10 seconds, I'll pull it up for you because I can't remember some of these longer per one going on. But tell me a little bit, Josh, right now, how are you balancing, or how are you having work-life balance with a kid and with business?
I would say early on, when Roman was born, when he was unable to really do too much, it was very easy to almost forget that I had a son. And I told Lyd, and the first time I told her, she was like, that sounds so terrible. But it's true. It was like, for me, it was whenever I would be, on the phone or doing work on the computer, whatever it could be, it's like it's almost like I forget. Not that like I just push him and like, there's no Roman, but to where he's just not on the front of my mind. And so I think it just takes having intentionality, and Lyd, right now, for instance, they're not here. And that's, I think, was the difference, is that we are home. They're home 24/7. Now, Lyd nanny, so she takes him to work. They're gone from maybe, let's say, 7 to 3. Now I know, okay, once 3 comes, all eyes on family. Like it's all eyes on them. That's the one thing I've realized is you can come back to the laptop. You can go back to the phone call or whatever it can be. But especially for your wife, more than anything, your wife just wants to make sure that she is acknowledged and that you are also acknowledging your family. And I think once you do that and you're like, hey, like I'm here, whatever y'all need, I'm available, to where they don't feel, that's the issue, I think, for a lot of women, and women can do this to husbands as well with their children or work, whatever it can be. A spouse just never wants to feel second place. That's, a spouse wants to feel like they are the priority to your wife or to your husband. And if you can do that, like typically, like if Lyd comes home, she's going to let me do my work anyways. She just wants to know like, hey, my husband is here if I need to ask her for something, and that work is not coming in first place. And so I think that's the main thing. So it just takes, intentionality.
That's a very powerful lesson, sir.
Yeah, because yeah. We're good. What you got?
All right, John Wooden, the little chap who follows me. So to me, it's all about parenting right here, that they're always watching. So
okay.
Here we go. A careful man I want to be. A little fellow follows me. I do not dare to go astray, for fear he will go the self same way. I cannot once escape his eyes. Whatever he sees me do, he tries. Like me, he says he's going to be the little chap who follows me. He thinks that I am so very fine, believes in every word of mine. The bass in me he must not see, that little chap who follows me. I must remember as I go through summer sun and winter snow, I'm building for the years to be the little chap who follows me.
That's solid. That's solid. I've never heard that one. That's pretty good. That is a good one.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. The little chap who follows me. Yep. Dang. That makes me think of Roman.
Exactly. And we can take it even further, Josh. you as an agent, they're as a people, whoever, as clients, as members here at Impact, people are watching what we're doing, what we're saying, a lot of things, all that stuff. So I think about that often.
Yes. So there is always someone watching.
That's right.
Always. And then you got God. So there is, but even still, there's always, always an example to those, especially those that are younger coming after you. That's so true. Even if you think you don't play that role, you definitely do. Okay. Last few questions, Denny, that I have for you is one off the top before I forget. Where can people connect with you? I know you said Strong D-Lo on Instagram. He's on
Twitter.
YouTube. You can get to Instagram and Twitter, Strong D-Lo. He's got his YouTube. Access it via the Instagram or just search him. Impact. What is Impact's Instagram?
Impact Fit _922. Actually, that's on Twitter. It's Impact Fitness _922 on IG.
Okay. And that's Tampa area, Wesley Chapel, Lutz, Lando Lakes, all
exactly.
All that. Yeah, all of that. Denny, what is next for someone? You've got your own business. You're in a field that you love. You're rucking. You're figuring out passions. You're raising your children, and all of these things. Got a lot of good things going. What is the next step for you?
Yeah. For me, most recently is how to integrate the spiritual side to it as well as the fitness side to it. So how can we not only do physically and mentally help people out, but how can we spiritually help people out? That's something that I'm working on now. Had some training over the weekend, and so we're working on that. I like that. Outside of that, for Impact is just being able to reproduce ourselves. So how do we grow the business enough to hire other trainers and allow the community to support itself even more, and help to influence or inspire other kids locally or adults. We've been also doing a lot with the wounded warriors. So veterans who have been injured and giving them a place that they can train and they can have increased fitness. That's something else that we're working on.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Last two questions for you. One is the end of Denny's time here. You have a microphone and the world is coming to you for one message, one last spiel that you get to give to the world before your time is up here. Yep. What is that message that you give to the world?
I'm going to cheat and give you two, Josh. I think one is very easy for me to say because of my faith-based background, but I'm a Christian, so I would say Jesus saves. And then if we're not talking religious-based background, something that I live by is hard work pays off. It may not mean success in the traditional sense, but there's somehow, some way, the hard work is always going to pay off.
Always going to pay off. I like that. And Jesus does save. Last question I have for you, Denny. For where you are in your life, again, great wife, great family, all of the things. What is the one thing that you are most grateful for?
Finding joy and just having a gratitude mindset of always looking at things that I'm grateful for, whether life is at its best or sometimes at its hardest. Just feeling I got the perspective of knowing that always looking for things to be grateful for.
I like it. Solid. Well, that's all I got. Denny, I appreciate you. Just appreciate you being on here. I know it's the second time recording this, so this should be solid. I think people will really take some fruit from this. I think there's some good discussion. We'll get this out, I think, sometime next week. So I'll send you all of the info. We'll shoot out the links for those listening, while you're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram. If you could subscribe, throw a review on there, a like, all of the things that would definitely be appreciated. This is Joshua Grader here with Denny Locasio, and this is Agent Talk, and we're out.